So here are my top tips for weight loss when it comes to Slimming World. So I have been on and off Slimming World for a few years now. I've also tried calorie counting, and I also did a short course on health and nutrition as well. So I like to think I have a little bit of knowledge. So let's discuss my experience. What I would do if I was first starting the Slimming World plan. Stop for image therapy. It's going to be the thing which changes it for you. So I stopped, and I really enjoyed it because it was the community, and I understand where people come from, because, you know, you discuss how your week's gone, challenges people have had, what you would do differently and things like that. So I get it completely. So you've got to be mindful of your portion control. So for example, if you are having pasta for lunch and dinner every single day, and you're having a big bowl of pasta, and maybe you're going for seconds as well, we've got to remember any weight loss journey is based on calories in, calories out. We all know that. So if you are eating a high volume of pasta, which is classed as a free food, every single day, you could not be having any of your sins, but if you are eating a lot of pasta, you are going to gain weight. You still have to be mindful of nutrition, and you still have to use your common sense when it comes to portion control. It doesn't mean free food is free food. It still contains calories. So just remember that things like your pasta and your rice are higher calorie than your potatoes. Potatoes are a great option to have because they are lower in calories. So if you are having pasta and you're going back for seconds and things like that, that may be the reason why you've gained weight on the scales that week. If you've come in one week and you've gained weight and you feel like you've done great on your plan, and your consultant says, oh well, the reason you would have gained weight is because you've gone over your sins, you can gain weight even though you've been on plan completely. There are so many different contributions to this, especially as a lady. We know that our weight can fluctuate when it comes to Star Week, I think they call it. So yeah, we know it can fluctuate. So don't feel disheartened if you get on the scales one week and you have gained weight. It can be water weight. So even for the gentleman, you've got water weight. There's so many different things which can contribute to it. So don't get too fixated with the scales. And I do think that Slimming World is very focused on what's on the scale. Obviously you have your weigh-ins and things like that, and that's a positive, as well as like a little bit of a negative sometimes, because the positive for me, I like it, is because it helps keep me accountable on my weight loss journey. So I go and get weighed every week, which I know that, like, if there's a day when I'm like, oh, I really want to take away, and I'm like, I've got weigh-in, come on, like, you get your competitive pants on, and you want a sticker, you want a certificate, you want Slimmer of the Week, whatever it may be. It gives you that little extra push. I'm not gonna lie, it does give you that extra push. There are times where if I hadn't been on plan, or if I hadn't gone to weigh in, I would have probably given in a little easier. On the flip side, it does focus obviously on what's on the scales, and there is so many different contributions to why the scales may fluctuate. So my other tip would be to get yourself a diary. I've recently, which is actually downstairs, I've recently purchased one from Amazon, and because obviously you have your app, but I use my app to scan, but I don't actually log it in. I like to go old school, pen and paper, write it down. And this is great because it also has an option for like your healthy extras, your sins, and it's got morning, afternoon and evening. So for me it works absolutely fantastic because I forget what I've had if I don't write it down. So if I leave my pen and paper in the kitchen, I will have something to quickly jot it down. It saves me like putting it all into my phone. Quickly jot it down, because there's been times if I haven't done that, I've gone and I've actually had 2 healthy extra V's, or I've forgotten I've had a chocolate bar, and things like that. So that's a great option, especially if you're not someone who uses the app very often. Pen and paper, diary, whatever it may be, is a great option. The biggest thing for me is to be kind to yourself. It can be so easy to get yourself into this frame of mind where you've gone off plan and it just snowballs, doesn't it? You've had a weekend off, you get to Monday and you're like, oh my god, I've messed it all up because of the weekend, so I might as well just carry on. And honestly, you need to try and get out of that frame of mind. I always say, the next day is a fresh day. So if you've had a day off plan, it doesn't matter at all. It's not going to have a huge impact, and if it does, who cares? It is your journey and nobody else's. So if you've had an off day, get to the next day, completely wipe it off. It doesn't matter what it says on those scales, as long as you are trying your best. That is what matters. And like I said, it's your journey and nobody else's, so nobody else can judge you on your journey. For me as well, I like to have a little snack box. I like to fill my little snack box in, so I know I've got low SIND snacks in the house, but I also like to add some high volume speed food, whatever you want to call it, and a little bit of protein with that snack. For example, I like to use the fiber cakes are about 90 calories. I think there are 4 SINs for some, 4.5 SINs for others. Instead of just eating that on its own, because if I just had that on its own, it's not giving me that sweet hit. It's not giving me the pudding kind of vibes that I'm looking for. So what I do is I add to it. So I'll add some berries to it, maybe some banana for the real sweetness from the banana, and then like some fat-free yogurt, because you got your protein from your fat-free yogurt. And that just makes a really, really nice pudding. The next thing I would say is try not to choose things like Muller Lights. I know they're only half a SIN, or if you are having them, mix them with fat-free yogurt, quark, something which is higher in protein. Muller Lights are lovely, and when I first was on Slimming World, that I wouldn't go for, like, I didn't have any idea of the importance of protein, which we'll talk about in a minute. So I kind of just looked at like what was low in SIN, what was free food, what was speed food, but protein is so important when you're on a weight loss journey. So if you are having anything like Muller Lights, because they're nice and sweet, aren't they? I would just suggest adding something with a little bit more protein as well, because Muller Lights aren't going to give you that filling power, whereas something which is higher in protein is going to give you that filling power. So adding something like a fat-free yogurt, fat-free Greek style yogurt, a high protein yogurt, is just going to give you that extra filling power when you're having a snack. Or like I said, you can mix it together if you really like the flavours of Muller Light. Which brings me on to protein. Don't disregard the power of protein. Sometimes this doesn't really get mentioned in Slimming World a lot as well. Some people have told me that in their group it does, some people have told me that it doesn't. So if it doesn't, please understand the power of protein. Obviously on Slimming World you have your lean meat is classed as your free food anyway, but just try and have, like when I said you're having your snacks or anything like that, try and choose things of which are higher in protein. Like you do get like the protein yogurts and things like that, so try and choose them rather than choosing things just like your Muller Lights, because it's just going to give you that filling power. And when you're having your lunch, if you're having a sandwich or whatever it is, try and get a good bit of protein in there as well. Your breakfast as well, try and get some protein within your breakfast. I like to swap normal porridge for baked oats instead, because I can add an egg in there, which is extra protein. I can have a scoop of protein powder, which is extra protein. Obviously I have to SIN that accordingly, but it's not very high in SIN for just like a scoop. It gives you that extra protein. Add some fat-free yogurt or quark in that as well. It's giving you extra protein, and that way it just takes it from like a small bowl of porridge, which is going to keep you full for what, an hour or 2 hours, to some baked oats which are really high in protein, and that's just going to keep you going then until after lunch. You're not going to get that crash about 11 o'clock where you're just craving something sweet. Meal prep is going to be your best friend. This is something that I do struggle with sometimes. Honestly, when I know I've done it, it helps me so much, especially with like busy mornings, busy evenings. I have just purchased a slow cooker, so I'm going to start introducing that more often now, because I just know that sometimes when you get to the evening, especially when it's the winter, and you get to that I can't bother to cook, and that's when you go to the convenience, whether it's something out the freezer, whether it's a takeaway, something which isn't on plan. So if you can get something prepped or just popped in your slow cooker, there's no excuse. If you can't be bothered, it doesn't matter, it's there and it's ready to go. So they are my top tips for anybody who is just starting the slimming world, or you're already on slimming world but you're finding yourself struggling a little bit. Let me know in the comments if you have any tips for anybody, then you can all share it down below and you can help each other on this journey. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care everybody, bye bye.